So you know where we're at in the van. That is the skylight or the marine hatch, the back two doors, and my mess of tools and things on top of the pull-out drawer and the bed platform. So over here on this side, which is the passenger side, this is the bulkhead or wall where the pull-out table is right here. And in this section, we want to have a drop down for turning on and off the propane, and it's also going to be our laundry chute. If you take a look on the other side, you'll see down there is the wheel well box, and our laundry chute is going to be a waterproof bag that sits on top of that wheel well box. So last night I had finished cutting this piece of wood right here to be the bulkhead, and it's got a little support here for the seat, and I quickly cut this piece of wood just to simulate the top of the seat. Underneath the seat we're going to have storage. I expect to have this one be like a pull-up so that we can put stuff down inside. And right next to it over here is the oven. So the expectation here is to have this be a pull-up where we can store things underneath. Now, I'm not sure which way that's going to pull up. I just thought of that as I did that. I don't know if it's going to pull up this way, or if it's going to pull up this way, or even if it makes any difference. But the task right now is to cut this hole to have a drop down on hinges so that we can put stuff into the laundry bag, and to open and close the propane tank that's going to feed the oven. Now, I almost made a really big mistake last night, and I cut this piece of wood. I was thinking, how far down do I want this to be? Because the wheel well is actually below this seat. So I could go all the way to the bottom. And I was thinking about that, and I had forgotten about the seat cushion. And we already have the seat cushions cut, and here's a scrap piece of material. That's a nice thick piece of foam. So that's got to go in here. So I can't have my cutout be lower than the seat cushion, which I was actually thinking, ooh, make it as big as I could, but that wouldn't work because I wouldn't be able to open it. So my thought right now is to go an inch, inch and a half above the seat cushion, because there's going to be material on this and give it a little bit more thickness. We're not going to be getting into this when we're sitting in the seat. You know, we're going to be doing it when we get up in the morning, drop this down, stuff our dirty laundry in, and close it up. And as you may know from the prototype tour, behind here there is a box, a sealed propane box, where the top opens up where I can turn on and off the propane. So I'll also access that through here. So right now the thought is to make a cut right here, basically 2 cuts on this wood, so that this whole panel will just drop straight down, leaving this area right here as a place to bolt this piece and give it some stability and security and keep it from vibrating or rattling. So I need a piece right here. Over here on this side, on the inside, there'll be a piece right here, not this wood, but behind it as support, screwed to the wood below it to support this and keep it rigid. And then this whole section will drop down. So I hope that works out well. Now we talked about what I'm going to do over here for this seat. On the other side, on the driver's side, so over in that piece of wood right there, on that part of the bulkhead, the only thing we have to put in there are the electrical outlet and the 15-minute timer for the water heater. I'm going to put a timer on that so we don't accidentally leave it on, because it is one of the most major draws of electricity, current, power from our battery system, so we don't want to accidentally leave it on. So we're going to put that on a timer. So that's what's going to go on that bulkhead. And then, as you know from a prior video, this is where the sliding doors are to access the garage, which I love that idea. I think it's going to work out really well. It worked out excellent on our prototype journey. But in doing all of this, I did resize that opening. It's actually larger than it was before. It's higher. That means I need to cut new sliding doors. Anytime you move something a half an inch to an inch in this Vanbuild, it affects everything else, and you may solve one problem and create another problem, or at least create a situation that takes a bunch of time to move things around and maybe cut more pieces or cut more PEX pipe to make everything fit right. But in the end, definitely all worth it, because usually you're gaining quite a bit of space. For example, I moved some PEX pipe and rerouted things that go underneath that track, because my water line goes underneath the track, not under the floor, just under that track. And by moving them just a little bit, I gain quite a bit of space where the recirculating shower system is under here. I gained about an inch of width in this area, which is excellent because it was very tight. And now there's actually, I guess I'd say, a little wiggle room in this area. So. That'll work. Now, the first piece of wood I had on here, when I put one of the screws in, it split because I didn't pre-drill the holes for the screws. So that piece of wood split. And I also made a crazy mistake just by luck. One of these screws was in line with the screw I put through to hold this piece of wood in. So I had to move it over. So several little mistakes along the way here, because that little screw right there was really close and actually hit one of the other screws. So with those two problems, I decided to take it apart, move these things over, and put it in a new piece of wood. But for prototype, this is good. I always feel things are a prototype until I've done them 3 or 4 times. But this one might make a journey or two before I decide to redo something. Here's an example of one thing getting in the way of the other. I just cut this and put these hinges on for our laundry chute. This right here is the track for the sliding doors. My placement of this hinge is no good, because this right here is the track. This track extends out more. I can cut this off. I might even be able to cut it off back farther, because the track probably isn't needed the full length. but this white piece of plastic, which is the track, gets in the way of the hinge. A simple solution is just to move the hinge over, which is what I'm going to do. I may end up cutting this track off right here. I may not need the entire track, and that way we'd have clear access to the propane tank and our laundry chute, which is over here. But for right now, I'm going to move that hinge over, all right, because I got to find out, can I cut this without destroying the stability of those sliding doors? But just an example of when you do one thing, it may interfere with another, and that's a consistent thing when you're building your van.